Hello, welcome to Issues and Ideas. I'm Chris DeBello. America's political landscape has turned from a place of leadership and service to a battlefield of war. It's a war between two political parties that feeds on anger, partisanship, created by a greater political swamp, brought about fewer accomplishments, all of which has turned you, the voter, pretty much into a casualty when you think about it. Despite how it may feel, though, this isn't the way it's always been, nor does it have to remain this way. Our first guest today is a political veteran who, with his new book, places before us, I believe, an accurate analysis of what is, how the foundation of a solution and remedy is already being built, and through history, how we can learn about bringing things to better times and better ways. Additionally, given his significant amount of time with many political leaders and players, he helps you know and understand quite a few of them much better. Does all this with his book, Finding the Third Way, Lessons in the Politics of Civility. There's a nice word for my journey through history. He's a veteran political operative, served as President Bill Clinton's special counsel. Lanny Davis, thanks for being here today, Mr. Davis.
Well, thank you, and I just want to say that I appreciate the invitation, and I'm a Jersey boy, so whoever in New Jersey is listening to me, I'm a Jersey City, Hudson County born and raised, and went to school in Newark at Newark Academy. So hello, fellow Jerseyites.
I was going to say, if you're a Newark Academy alumni, you will find many stories I have a feeling you'll relate to in Finding the Third Way as well.
Yes.
In addition, when reading about your mom and your dad, your family, talk about their influence because, well, I think first those stories bring about a great parenting guide, as well as what you did for mom and dad later in life proves to be great lessons in how to be a good son. But talk about their influence in your life.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll do a positive influence and a lesson I learned from my dad, who I loved with all my heart, as to not to be like my dad. So let me start with that one. My father was a dentist in Jersey City, and my mom helped him in the office. And my father was a highly political, highly liberal, FDR liberal Democrat. So I'm sure that doesn't surprise anyone who knows a little bit about me. But my father used to argue a lot about politics over the dinner table when we invited friends over on the golf course with his friends. And the argument was always about if you disagreed with my father, he took it personally, and he often lost friends because of political differences. So I watched some of this happening, and I thought to myself at some point, later in life, looking back, especially when I wrote the book, I learned to do the opposite. And that's the thesis of the entire book, is that when we have political differences, with the exception of racism and bigotry and extreme thinking that can't be even dealt with, and I accept those types of people, they're a very small percentage of our population who are bigots and who are racist. Putting them aside, I learned from my father not to do what he did, is that if somebody is for Donald Trump and I am not, we can reasonably disagree without demonizing each other and calling each other names. So the interesting story about my dad, as much as I loved him, and he taught me to love the New York Giants when they were Giants back in New York, and to despise the New York Yankees. Why, Dad? I love the Yankees. Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, pinstripes. I love the Yankees. And he said, which is the chapter of my book, long answer to your question. You can't be for the Yankees. Why not, Dad? They're winning all the time. When I grew up, they won all the World Series in the 1950s. They have all the money, and they're Republicans. So that's why I wasn't allowed to root for the Yankees, and I decided to grow up and be different.
Plus, when you look at Billy Martin, Mickey Mantle, Yogi, they were tough guys. Willie Mays was cool, though. I mean, that's the big difference there. Now,
he was, just to interrupt for a second because of the word cool, if you don't mind, it was exactly the right word, but for a young kid, I was young, and Willie was at his prime in the 1950s. He was fun. He enjoyed life. He enjoyed his sport. He was at his happiest on the baseball field. And I saw a photograph of him. I'll never forget it. I was 8 or 9 years old. It sticks with me as if it was yesterday. After a long and sweaty baseball game in the summer of whatever the year was, there was a photograph of Willie Mays in the streets of Harlem where he lived. He couldn't live in white neighborhoods. And he was out on the street after an exhausting baseball game with a stickball, playing stickball with the kids on the street. So they captured that photograph. That photograph stuck with me from that day until the day I met him 50 years later at a Bill Clinton. It was actually a Hillary Clinton fundraiser, and Bill Clinton brought Willie Mays for me to meet as a surprise because Willie had helped Mr. Clinton raise money for his foundation. And the surprise guest of the Hillary Clinton fundraiser in San Francisco, after all those years of worship, was Willie Mays. And like a bawling kid, I cried my eyes out as he signed the autograph for me. And there's a photograph of Willie signing the autograph 50 years later, and I was crying.
Moving into politics, and like I said back in the intro, what we're seeing now, it wasn't always this way. And one of the lessons, I think, one of the many lessons the reader gains from your book is there's a difference between knowing somebody that is on the way up, is in the seat of power, whatever the case may be, versus learning from that person. How important is that difference?
It's very important. It's the essential message of my book, and thank you for catching that and asking the question. My advice to people like me, I'm a liberal Democrat. I oppose almost every policy that Donald Trump stands for, especially the Iran war. I still advise everyone like me who is in opposition to Mr. Trump, listen to Trump voters before you talk. Ask a Trump voter who maybe used to be a Democrat and switched over to Donald Trump, why? And listen, and then see if you can find common ground. It's as simple as that. Listen and look for common ground. And by the way, if you did that today, if you're listening to this program and you don't like Donald Trump and you know someone who does, why don't you say, why did you vote for Trump? And listen, and you're going to find common ground. You're going to say, well, he's now broken his campaign promise about endless wars. I'm against the Iran war. Well, we can agree on that one. So looking for common ground is the theme of my book.
Which is finding the third way, lessons in the politics of civility from my journey through history. Lanny's website, by the way, is LannyJDavis.com. We have that link at our homepage. And you're listening to Issues and Ideas. And again, turning back the clock, not really that far, it's not unheard of for opposite sides to work together. You go back to Ronald Reagan, Tip O'Neill, another combination that you're very familiar with, President Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich. They might not have liked each other or agreed with each other, but when you look at what they got done and the sizable things they got done versus the stuck in neutral that we see today, quite a difference between then and now, isn't it?
Well, thank you for mentioning that's one of the best examples. I would say that Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton didn't exactly like each other. But when it came time to Bill Clinton being a fiscal conservative, because as governor of Arkansas, he didn't have the opportunity to borrow money to pay for current bills. He had to pay for his budget every year and balance his budget. So he went to Gingrich, or vice versa, and they decided, we're spending our children's money by using credit cards, by deficit spending, we're borrowing money, and then we dump all the receipts on the beds of our children, and we say, you pay. Well, that was just plain immoral. For Bill Clinton, it was immoral to use deficit spending and tell our children or grandchildren to pay the bills, and Newt Gingrich agreed. So they had common ground on balancing the budget. So when Bill Clinton went to Gingrich and Joe Scarborough, I would add, and a bunch of conservatives, they were shocked that he said, let's figure this out. Let's not spend more than we're taking in like every household. So Bill Clinton was a fiscal conservative. He balanced the budget in his last years as president, and he and Newt Gingrich deserve the credit. He left a surplus. Do you believe the word surplus, which is never used?
Yeah.
Which is that they were taking in more money than they were spending. By the time Bill Clinton left, he had a $30 billion surplus, which means he reduced the national debt. So there's the third way that I'm talking about. Democrats do not have to be big spending, big government, high taxing. as an alternative to Trump. A lot of people voted for Trump because they didn't want that type of alternative. We have an alternative hiding in plain sight. It's the Bill Clinton third way.
And it's just a matter of, because there's a growing number of frustrated voters that are cast adrift right now. And about 30 seconds here, what does a Democrat or even an independent have to do to say, hey, come on over here, I got something for you?
They have to the three parts of the Bill Clinton third way: fiscal conservative, support balanced budgets, and stop spending more than we take in. Secondly, on cultural issues that make people uncomfortable without having the time to identify them. Be tolerant, not only tolerant of people who are in favor of certain cultural changes, but they should be tolerant of you. And then the third most important thing of all is to be civil and civilly disagree and find common ground.
And Lanny expands on all those ideas and finding the third way, lessons in the politics of civility from my journey through history, LannyJDavis.com, the website. Mr. Davis, your book is an education and insight in so many different ways that everyone who reads it will gain from it. Thanks for the book and for being here today.
Thank you, and hello to my fellow Jerseyites. I'm still a New Jersey boy. Thank you for the invitation today.
Back in the day, as cell phone technology and use expanded, you might remember the cell towers started to spring up all across the country. While being a useful and obvious necessity, many people objected to their presence for reasons ranging from environmental, even health concerns, to just how they look bad. These objections were heard, in most cases, addressed through a fair and transparent local government process. Are we seeing history repeating itself today as the number of data centers continues to grow nationwide? Are local residents who assume that these data centers are going to be established in large areas where the infrastructure can handle the load they create, being caught by surprise when they learn that, in fact, one is going to be in their small town backyard, literally and figuratively? Well, such is the case in Andover Township, New Jersey, and yes, residents are objecting. Joining us to explain this situation is the attorney for one of the Andover Township residents, partner in the Kennedy's law firm, Anand Dash. Thanks for being here today, sir.
Chris, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
And to learn more about the legal services of the Kennedy's law firm, kennedyslaw.com, we do have that link posted at our homepage as well. Background for our discussion: there are over, at this point in time, 4,000 data centers in the nation, and at last count, 84 already constructed in New Jersey, and more on the way as we talk. I'll give some more examples of exactly what some of these pending data centers are going to be. But specifically with Andover Township, give a summary of what is happening, because it basically is involving zoning codes, and believe it or not, I believe is a land board meeting where the term data center was prohibited from being used by anyone speaking.
Yes, Chris, you're right. You're absolutely right. Chris, we've acknowledged, my client and I and the community have acknowledged that there is value and need for data centers, not only in New Jersey, but throughout the country, to support the technology that requires them. The issue that the community has in Andover is not necessarily unique to Andover, but it's the idea that there is an appropriate process that requires a due process when a municipality such as Andover seeks to introduce a very controversial land use that impacts the economy, it impacts the environment, it impacts both the geographical and natural landscape. And the real objection, while it may first be with respect to data centers, Chris, really surrounds the process. Have the community members, the constituents of Andover Township, be given a fair process. And I'm disappointed to say that we are witnessing again yet another municipality in Sussex County that believes that they know better than their constituents and has effectively removed the idea of the consent of the governed by having a fait accompli, as I've called it, with respect to this data center application. The idea being, Chris, that before there is an actual vetting process for this data center in front of the land use board, the town council, the town committee in Andover has really allowed for this type of use, this data center use, without any variances, Chris. And without any variances under New Jersey land use law, an application really cannot be denied, very limited circumstances. And that's the affront to the residents that I think is really unacceptable on a number of levels, Chris.
There are a couple of ordinances, I guess the key focus here of how they've served as the tools for this to happen. Ordinance 2025-15, Ordinance 2026-08. Talk about what they are opening the door to.
Sure. Chris, in April of 2025, the Township Committee had a comprehensive rewrite of its master plan. In essence, in plain terms, a master plan is the blueprint of any township, any community. That blueprint is supposed to set the goals and objectives of the municipality as to the types of uses that the township wants to see. That master plan, comprehensive plan, was written in April of 2025. Ordinance 2025-15 shows up in August of 2025, 4 months later, introducing a data center use. Why that's egregious, Chris, is because when the township has just undergone the expensive process and the time-consuming process of a master plan rewrite, comprehensive rewrite, if data centers were to be contemplated as part of the goals and objectives of the township, it should have been made a part of that master plan. Yet, out of the blue, in August 7th, 2025, the town council in Andover introduces a data center. It's not part of the comprehensive planning of the town, clearly because the word data center is not found anywhere in the master plan for Andover Township. And then you find a data center as part of Ordinance 2025-15 to be a permitted use. A permitted use is what the name suggests, a use that is allowed by right in the community. And had it been more of a comprehensive planning, the controversial use of a data center would have had additional conditions surrounding it, conditions that would have abated the significant concerns nationwide related to electricity consumption and water consumption and noise consumption. If you look at Ordinance 2025, Chris, you'll find none of those conditions are present. In fact, there are no conditions attached to this very debatable data center use. So that leads a lawyer like myself, who has experience in this matter, in this type of, I hate to use the word, Chris, but I'll use it, in this type of land use type scheme, where you're basically allowing an ordinance to be tailored for a specific lot and block, in this case, 248 Stickles Pond Road. Okay, they're spot zoning a particular lot and block for a specific developer. How do we know that, Chris? Well, if that wasn't enough, fast forward to Ordinance 2026-08 that was introduced in March of this year, March of 2026. The developer had allegedly said to the town, look, town, we cannot get our height, the necessary height we need for this project for our data center to 65 feet because your zone only allows 50 feet. Please, Andover, would you increase the height for us to 65 feet? Mm-hmm. And the town obliged, Chris. That is the textbook definition of spot zoning, when you alleviate the burdens of zoning for a specific developer. Chris, that is not allowed under the municipal land use law in New Jersey.
Talking with attorney Anand Dash, partner with the Kennedy's law firm, kennedyslaw.com. He's also representing a resident of Andover Township, New Jersey, regarding a pending data center. And I fear this is not an issue exclusive to Andover Township. Now, you mentioned the address, 248 Stickles Pond Road. Paint a verbal picture of what that area is. Is it residential? Is it business? Is it empty land? What's
Sure.
the area look like?
Chris, that particular property is part of the redevelopment area of Andover Township. It is undeveloped land. It is, for those who are familiar with Sussex County, It's colloquially referred to as the Jump Airport. It was for many years an airport for aeronautics. It subsequently, many applications have come forward. One was the relatively known BHT application for the auction for junkyard and automobiles. That application failed for a number of reasons. There was a more recent application for a warehouse. So that particular parcel of land is perhaps suitable for some type of industrial development, Chris, but without the proper comprehensive planning and forethought, it is ripe for a controversial project like a data center to go in there. And so the real issue is that property may be suitable at some point in time, and I think their Andover residents are reasonable-minded people who understand the value of ratables to a town and why a town needs ratables to exist. The issue, again, however, is that you cannot make the exception to the rule the rule. In this case, Andover is seeking to make the exception to the rule, namely the variance, the rule for a specific lot and block and for a specific developer. That really is, as I said, a violation of fundamental fairness and due process in this specific case. And it really is, I take umbrage to that, Chris, because it's insulting to the intelligence of good-willed, honest, working Andover residents.
You mentioned ratables. Did I hear correctly that there was, I'll call it a sweetheart deal made for this company to bring in this data center where they are going to get a sizable tax break?
Yes, that's exactly right. You may have heard of the pilot, Chris, the payment in lieu of taxes. What we're hearing, although not 100% confirmed, is that this particular lot and block has been perhaps given preliminary approval for a pilot, which is effectively a program where the developer makes an arrangement with the township to pay something less than the market rate taxes that they would otherwise have to pay over a long-term period. And the common knowledge on the pilot suggests that those payments often do not go toward the very critical need of the school system's budget. It is exclusively left for the municipality to use, and therefore it has a inverse effect by not helping to relieve the burden of the cost of the school system. And that only ultimately benefits the developer and narrow interests of the municipality.
Now, for you listening, you might be thinking, wherever you are in New Jersey and Andover Township or anywhere, as I said, there's over 4,000 data centers with many more to come. For justifiable reasons, I understand that, but as they say in real estate, location, location, location. By 2030, AI data centers are going to be consuming as much as 9% of U.S. electricity annually. That according to the Electric Power Research Institute. In New Jersey, back in June, electricity bills rose about 20%, due in part to the increasing demand and a regional supply system in danger of losing the generating capacity needed to keep up. Mentioned that we have 84 data centers in New Jersey. A planned one in Vineland is, by estimates, going to wind up using about 350 megawatts of power. That's nearly double the electrical capacity of the entire city of Vineland. So I guess the question becomes, have there been studies done, environmental infrastructure capabilities done to determine and confirm that Andover Township can withstand what is going to be a very heavy load on its electrical infrastructure?
Chris, you're astute question, a very astute question, because that's exactly the point that I have made to the township attorney in Andover, that there has been no planning with respect to the energy consumption, the water consumption, the noise output of these projected data centers, and that really is, regrettably to say, reckless. Yes, the Vineland is a project that has been on everyone's radar, and it's a shame that we're not learning from those other townships and projects. This is a type of use that absolutely requires conditions being placed on it. It requires study. It requires experts to opine on the impact to a rural community like Andover. Chris, these roads and the environment. You have a C1 stream running on that property. I believe it's the Pequest River is a C1 protected stream. There are many considerations as to why this needs to be approached with mature reflection and serious planning. Chris, none of that has been, to my knowledge and to my discovery yet, been employed by the township in Andover, and it is very disappointing to see that for the residents.
So I've already seen where numerous organizations have been formed by people. And by the way, if you have a land use board meeting that has more than 100 people showing up, that alone should be a wake-up call for the people sitting behind the tables on the dais, that people are not exactly happy with what's going on here. So what are the immediate next steps in response here?
Chris, as I indicated to the land use board at the last meeting, I believe it was April 22nd, the lawyer's role as negotiator is just as important as the lawyer's role as litigator. I have given them, as we do in all cases, an opportunity to do the right thing by their constituents, by the people of Andover, by the people of Sussex County. And what I have asked them to do by May 7th is I've asked them respectfully to rescind Ordinance 2025-15 and 2026-08. Simple terms, non-legalese, remove those ordinances from the books of Andover Township so that a developer cannot file an application under that framework. Then take the time to have sufficient, reasonable, cool-headed discussions with the community as to whether or not this type of intensive use is appropriate from the committee. If they do not remove the ordinances by rescission, I have indicated that I will be taking legal action by way of an action in lieu of prerogative writs before the Sussex County Superior Court, demanding that this process they have followed is illegal, unlawful, spot zoning, and that there will be legal consequences. But I don't say that lightly, Chris. I want to give them an opportunity to do the right thing by their constituents and let not a mistake become an unforced error.
By the way, for you listening, the next township community meeting for Andover Township is May 7th, as Mr. Dash said. So if you are a resident of not just Andover Township, but Sussex County, and this is an issue that is certainly going to have a wide-ranging impact all throughout the state and the nation, if you want to lend your voice to the effort of transparency, it's not to prohibit or block, it's just transparency. That's not a lot to ask for and not a lot to expect from anyone at any level of elected or chosen or selected leadership, but it seems to be a challenge in this specific case. But I always bet on the will and the voice of the people, and I think that is going to be the final say in whatever comes forth as this moves forward. And for you listening via the podcast and wherever you're listening, just be aware, because what is happening in Andover Township, New Jersey, just might be happening in your literal backyard. So when you hear meetings or see postings of meetings, which even that's becoming less and less transparent as we've seen too many times, try to find out the reason why you're not having that access to information and try to demand it every way that you politely and professionally can, and be a difference voice in that aspect. And Adnan, it's challenging.
Thank you. I just share. Thank you for your program, which is vital to informing your listeners across the county and the state who may be listening to your program, because we need folks like you and your services to educate people. That is the single greatest tool that the community can have, and I know my client and the community are tremendously appreciative for the service that you are providing to the community.
Well, it is indeed a team effort, a team of voices that bring up volume, strength, and confidence, and you are certainly adding to that voice as well. It's something to watch out for and be aware of, and that's the call I leave in this segment. Mr. Anand Dash, thank you so much for the work you're doing and the education you give as well. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Chris. Much appreciated.
By coincidence, Lanny Davis, in his book, mentions a speech by Teddy Roosevelt which he made in Paris, France back in 1910, called The Man in the Arena, which really ties into the conversation just had about the data centers. Let me read it here. It is not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds might have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat and dust and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who, if he wins, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Sorry, now admit it. We've all done it. We rush through something, we make a mistake. We think it'll take a couple of minutes to do something, but it winds up taking longer. Now, if that involves you, you'll get through it. But if it involves your child, who you left in the car out there in the parking lot in the hot sun, the results can be deadly. It's called pediatric vehicular heat stroke, and 37 children die from it every year. It's also a deadly danger which can be easily prevented. My next guest is with us to discuss this issue, how education is the key to prevention. He's the administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Johnathan Morrison. How are you today, sir?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me, Chris, and thanks for helping get the important message out.
Absolutely, and there's also a website, too, which I have linked at our homepage, nhtsa.gov/heat stroke. And as I said, Johnathan, it's maddening, it's sad, it's frustrating. Put in whatever emotion you want, because over 1,000 children, since this has been measured, averaging 37 a year, have died from something that can be absolutely, totally, easily prevented. Talk about the seriousness of this and what the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is doing to raise awareness, make people more responsible.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Chris. You are hitting all the right notes on this. This is a 100% preventable tragedy, and no parent ever wants to put their children in danger. Nobody's going to do that intentionally. But like you say, things happen, and we've launched a campaign as temperatures are increasing. We're looking to remind everybody of the dangers that heat stroke poses to children, and we're really focusing on those children that are from newborn to 5 years old, because they're the most susceptible to heat stroke. So what we've launched is a new campaign that's called Never Happens, and it's really a three-part campaign to focus on the three different ways that we primarily see hot car deaths take place.
And when you look, too, it's people think, here's a great example, 70 degrees. That's a comfortable temperature. You can pretty much get along fine without that, except in a car. If it's 70 degrees outside, within 10 minutes, the interior temperature is almost 90, and within 30 minutes, it's over 100 degrees. And that's easy science to read, but Johnathan, trying to retain that and remember that, again, people just keep seeming to miss the obvious. So talk about the elements of the campaign and how the word is going to be spread.
I think that's right. And, I think part of it comes from our understanding of what it's like to be in those situations. Like you say, 20 degree increase in a 10-minute period. And people might think that cracking a window will help or parking the shade is going to help, and it really doesn't. So part of it, again, is we know what it's like to be in a hot car, and it's awful. It's really uncomfortable. We'll start sweating after a few minutes, and we'll get through it. We'll turn on the air conditioner, whatever it might be. But people don't realize that we're adults. We have the ability in our bodies to regulate temperatures. With children, their body temperature rises 3 to 5 times faster. So our campaign is really looking to hit those three main contributing factors, the three main causes. And those are situations. A, the primary cause is that children are forgotten in the vehicle by their parents or caregivers. And that's something where it can be common when there's a change in routine, such as one parent's dropping off the kid at daycare or preschool instead of the other. They just might forget that they're doing that. Just with our busy lives, like you said, people lose attention. The second situation happens very frequently is that children may gain access into an unlocked vehicle and get trapped inside because the child locks are activated. And then third, sometimes children are knowingly left inside the car because they think it's only going to be a quick errand. It's going to be 10 minutes, 20 minutes into the grocery store. And as you so correctly noted, that's enough time to really result in a tragedy. So our campaign is focused on reminding parents the way to prevent these is to always kind of check yourself when you're getting out of the vehicle. You stop, take account of the situation, you look in the back seat, and then you lock your car as you leave. We really want this to be added to every parent's routine.
Talking with Johnathan Morrison, who is the administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA.gov/heat stroke. For the campaign that we are talking about, the awareness that it's raising, and you're listening to Issues and Ideas. I see where you're teaming with the Ad Council. Is this going to be something where there's videos available? Because I'm thinking in our day of looking for content for our personal social media pages, if there's a video that someone can link to from YouTube, for example, and share on their social media pages, I think that would add to the volume of your message.
Absolutely, and we have that right on that website that you mentioned. It's NHTSA.gov/heatstroke, NHTSA.gov/heatstroke. We have now videos, really powerful videos. If you haven't had a chance to take a look, I'd recommend you do so, and I hope your listeners do as well, that really drive this message home. And Ad Council, as always, does a fantastic job, and these are some powerful messages that really get at each of these three causes for hot car death.
How important is it for the states to take action in this cause? Because I was surprised to find out that I believe the count was only 23 states have laws which make it legal. If you're walking through a parking lot and you see a kid in the car and it's 90 degrees outside, there's only 23 states where you can rescue that child and not face criminal charges. Is that something that really has to change?
I think different states are going to have to go through their own process and debate those issues. But what I would hammer home for all of your listeners is if you're in a parking lot, if you're anywhere and you see a child in distress, act immediately. Call 911, and that's the very first thing you should do.
And like Johnathan mentioned too, the younger child is the most prone to be placed in this situation, usually unintentionally. There's about a 1 in 5 chance where it's done intentionally, thinking that it's running in the store and be back out fast, and that doesn't always work out that way. But 38%, according to a study, of kids are under the age of 1 year old that are left or are killed by pediatric vehicular heat stroke. Again, it's something that can be easily prevented through awareness, through paying attention. Think about it when you put an old refrigerator out. You're almost by law in some states, you have to take the door off so a kid can't climb into the refrigerator that's going to go out into the garbage. Same idea with the car. If you're parking your car in the street in the driveway, lock the doors. Some neighborhoods you have to do for the obvious reasons, but here's maybe a not as obvious reason, which has to be more obvious. That in the summer, as we're getting into it, the kid might find it a place to hide, a place to explore, and tragedy can happen. Learn more about the campaign to raise awareness about preventing the deaths of children in this needless way, courtesy of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA.gov/heat stroke. He is their administrator, Johnathan Morrison. Mr. Morrison, thank you for bringing this to the attention of everyone in every way possible to make a difference and to save the lives of those 37 children that we needlessly lose every year, and that's just an average, and see that number go down to zero sooner versus later. Thanks for the work and for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris, and thank you truly to help get this word out, and thanks for your listeners for paying attention.
Okay, time for some movie-making history. Before Hollywood became the home for motion picture production, film companies had studios in New York City. Then even before that, it was New Jersey that was the home for the very early film productions, even Westerns, come to think of it. Today, through the efforts of the New Jersey Film Commission, New Jersey is looking to once again be a major location of film production. That means there'll be a need for people to work on film sets in a variety of roles. The next guest joins us to share how an upcoming training and education program can open up this new opportunity for you via the FRAME program. FRAME stands for Film Readiness and Media Education. She's program coordinator for FRAME through the Aspire Youth Development Organization. Leah Van Nieuwburg, how are you today, Lee?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Well, great to have you here and to talk about what is a really interesting program, which you listening to learn more at aspireyouth.com. We have that link at our homepage because, as I said, New Jersey is indeed looking to reestablish its roots as a film-making hub. Just recently, the New Jersey Motion Picture and Television Commission made it official to designate 15 towns in New Jersey as what they call film-ready communities. Real fast, they're Edison, Fanwood, Garwood, Hamilton, Hanover, Highland Park, Hightstown, Lambertville, New Brunswick, Newton, Oceanport, Phillipsburg, Randolph, Robbinsville, and Shrewsbury. So that brings to the total of towns now 58 in the state, with more to come, that are film-ready communities. So, Lee, that really puts the need out there. How is that need for skilled people on movie sets being answered with this program, FRAME, coming up?
Well, the NJEDA put out some grants, and we were lucky to receive a grant. So we're able to do a fully free 18-week hands-on training program, and it's in partnership with Creative Content on Demand. So they have a ton of experience in the industry, and it's designed for adults in Burlington, Camden, and Gloucester who are just really ready to actually get into the industry. And really, they're going to train in camera, lighting, sound, editing, production, and then also get professional development from real industry professionals and have exposure into all of these great opportunities. We've been having meetings with the unions and with the different production companies, and it's been really exciting.
And when we say filmmaking, too, we always think of the major films, but independent filmmaking, as we've seen with the growing number of independent film festivals here in New Jersey and elsewhere, there are a ton of film projects that are always in the works, whether it's documentary to features to shorts to everything in between, where new talent is, as the number of productions increases, new talent will certainly be in demand, and this will be a great program to help fill that need and give people a whole new idea of a path for their life.
That's great. And it's this chance for New Jersey to actually get their hand into something, like you said, that has, really originated here. And it was moved away from us, but there's such a passion in this area for people who love film and love where it's come from and where it's going. So it's so cool to see these kind of programs give, access into places that just haven't seen it before. So we're really, really excited for this full circle moment.
I mentioned, too, Creative Content on Demand is the partner for this project. What is their contribution going to be, and what kind of experience, what kind of focus are they going to provide in these training classes and sessions?
Absolutely. They're going to lead the classes every Tuesday and Thursday night, and they've developed this beautiful curriculum, which is just so well-rounded. It really touches base on every different thing from set procedures to set safety, and really they've been, I know that James was out. He's from Curtis. He's with Creative Content on Demand. I'm sorry. And he was out just doing an acting gig this past weekend. He's filmed some major commercials, some, documentary and narrative film work. So really they have such a well-rounded background, and they've developed this excellent curriculum. And then I'm also there to support the students as well. And then I've had screenplays circulate through the industry and some, narrative film and documentary work myself. So they really are coming from a great team of people with excellent backgrounds, and so we're really, really excited to see everything there. But Creative Content on Demand really has put their heart and soul into this project and gotten it off the ground, and we're so excited to get started on these Tuesday, Thursday nights.
It's more to note, too, that we're talking about film production and movies that come and go. They start, finish, and move on to the next project in another area. But we also have here in New Jersey, Netflix is putting down, let us say, some pretty sizable roots because they're building a huge studio production complex in Monmouth County. So there could be some long-term permanent work for people who come out of this class.
Absolutely, and we were actually discussing with them yesterday. So we have really great partnerships already building to help these students get right into the industry. So that's really what we're looking for, is people who, not just have an interest in film, but they want to start working in the industry.
So Leah Van Nieuwburg, who is the part of the Aspire Youth Development Organization, which is presenting the FRAME program, Film Readiness and Media Education. You can learn more, and more importantly, get involved at aspireyouth.com. We have the link at our homepage, and you are listening to Issues and Ideas. And regarding that, getting involved, time is short. We have to make that point.
Yes.
But as far as getting involved, what's the process?
Yes, so they can go to the website. We extended the application deadline through this weekend, so everyone is still welcome to apply for this coming cohort. And then we have 2 more additional cohorts coming, and hopefully expansion after that. So please still reach out if you're not able to do this first round that runs over the summer. It will end in September. In the fall, we're going to start our second cohort. So you can get in on the next one if you're ready for the next one and join our wait list. And then also just reach out to me, Leah at aspireyouth.com, and I'm happy to give you different ways you can get involved with everything going on.
So this FRAME program is not going to be a one and done deal, but assuming that all works and everything, and the demand is high, this could be a regular process where, since you have the connection with so many elements of the film community, that this could be an ongoing situation.
That is our hope. We truly hope to expand it down the road as large as we can get it. We would really love to see more counties covered as well. So, the demand has been really promising to this one, and people are really excited about the program. So we're really hoping we can expand it. So, the more that you reach out, let us know that you're interested, the more that we can do. So please do reach out and get involved.
Is this something, too, that you're hearing from other parts of the state, other states, where they're trying to do what New Jersey is doing as well? Or are you being watched to see how is it? How are they doing, and how can we do what they're doing?
Absolutely. Well, there are actually 5 funded programs right now from the NJEDA. There is RealWorks as well, and Newark Film Academy, New Jersey Film Academy. Right now, it seems that they're really covering, North and South Jersey. So there's that space in Central Jersey. We still really want to get, people the training that they need. So, again, reach out, tell the NJEDA that you love these programs, and these FilmWorks grants can keep coming, and we can keep training people because, it's really fantastic.
It's always great, too, when we hear about these programs and grant programs that are based upon taxpayer funds for the most part. It's great to hear when they go to something like this, because it really helps us understand, too, the value of our tax dollar. And as far as the Aspire Youth Development Organization, this is just one part of the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's youth development workforce training. Right now we're having our trades day, which is to get women in construction. So it's really exciting. If you go to the website, you can see a ton of different trade opportunities that we can help you out with in getting training. But we primarily focus on the youth. But again, our FRAME program is really exciting because that's 18 plus. So that's really anybody can get involved. So at this point, we're really, got our hands in workforce development. It's really exciting.
And for you listening, if you're a member of a town leadership in some way, shape, or form, I mentioned Film Ready Community Program in New Jersey. You can find out more about that at film.nj.gov, about what that designation, gaining it, entails to be a film-ready community, to be added to that list of 58 that I mentioned before, and be a job creator, too, because, as I said, film production happens in all ways and all sizes, and the FRAME program is looking to fill the needs that are continuing to grow in this industry. Find out more at aspireyouth.com. And we've been joined by, from the Aspire Youth Development Organization, Leah Van Nieuwburg. Lee, thanks for cluing us into what is a great program and a great opportunity for people who always thought about some part of the movie industry. And this is a door that hopefully those people will hear open and walk through it quickly and successfully. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much. I really am so excited to share it because this is one of those programs where, you hear film, but this one, they really are. The industry is ready to train us up. And so, I hope New Jersey gets working.
Fear and intimidation. For too many people, it's what they believe they need to lash out with in order to matter in our world. You probably experienced it where you work, maybe at school. We've certainly seen it from people in elected office. When someone tries to inflict fear or intimidation on you, that most likely makes you think it's because they don't like you. Truth is that these people really don't like themselves much. Inside, they feel frustrated, maybe angry because they don't believe life worked out for them the way that they hoped. So instead of trying to change their ways, they instead take it out on you. James chapter 3, verse 16 reveals the truth about these people. For where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. Paul in Romans chapter 2, verse 8 also reveals this to us. But to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation and wrath. In most cases, it's ego, really, that compels people to create fear and intimidation. These are people who have turned away from the truth that we read in 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. Therefore humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he cares about you. When someone tries to instill fear or intimidation against you, don't let their anger press down on you, because it's not you who they're angry with. Again, they're angry at themselves over what they see when they look at their life. James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20 explains exactly what these people are creating. So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. There's no doubt that our world is filled with a growing number of people seeking to create fear and intimidation. Mentioned before, work location, schools. It's not limited to those two locations, obviously. Stores, hospitals, the roads we drive on. Too many people are too easily triggered into anger, and that leads them to respond with creating fear and intimidation. If it feels like there are more people like this than ever before, those who know God's Word shouldn't be surprised, because we have been warned about these times. Jesus alerts us to this in Matthew chapter 24, verses 10 through 12. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. And many false prophets will rise up and deceive many, because lawlessness will abound. The love of many will grow cold. We're also given this warning in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slandering, without self-control, brutal, despisers of God, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. I know that sounds like a heavy load that we're being challenged by, but as children of God, we also know that he will lighten our load. Jesus makes this promise to us in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. At the same time, God will allow us to face challenging times in order to strengthen us. Think of it as like the person who goes to a gym to build physical strength. Do they reach for the 5-pound weights or the 50-pound weights? Same goes for us spiritually, as Romans chapter 5, verses 3 and 4 explains. And not only that, but we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4 adds this, My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. We're not to just read the Word of God, but to live it. We're called on to live it in ways that brings his light into this world that Satan has covered in his darkness. We are to live God's Word in an outward way that will awaken those who try to project that fear and intimidation I'm talking about. God directs us to this with his words in Isaiah chapter 55, verse 11. So shall my word be that goes forth from my mouth. It shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish what I please, and it shall prosper in the thing for which I sent it. Does that sound like a massive responsibility to you? It shouldn't. If you have faith, then you're fully equipped. Jesus confirms this in John chapter 7, verse 38. He who believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. As I said at the start of this teaching, there are way too many angry, hostile people in our world today. God isn't asking you to give counsel to all of them, but one would be a great start. If you know his word, then you can do the work that Jesus assigns to us in Luke chapter 11, verse 28. But he said, more than that, blessed are those who hear the word of God and keep it. Don't forget to check out our website, issuesandideasradio.com. That's where we have more information about the guests who are here on the show with us today. And if you've been listening to us via your favorite podcast platform, make sure you subscribe and follow us. Always grateful and thankful for your time and attention. Always fun to have you along for the ride each and every time. Look forward to being with you right here this time next week for our next edition of Issues and Ideas.